parallel.
No, I like it like this. It's
Good.
better for editing. And then I can learn to shut up when someone else speaks.
Nice.
Yeah. And I had a peaceful morning.
The best mornings, slow
Yeah.
mornings.
Yeah.
I like that.
Love it.
Very cool.
You want to start with telling who you are
Sure.
and what's your mission?
What's my mission? So I'm Anna. I'm from Switzerland. I'm a creative and a strategist, and I'm on a mission to really help people express themselves authentically and effectively so that they can attract the right kind of opportunities, build meaningful relationships, and co-create magic with the right people.
Nice. That's why we got in contact as well, no? Because we found each other online. We were like, yep, we met in Portugal before, but then I saw the video of you online, and that's why I got in contact with you and be like, hey, I think we're on the same mission. Let's sit down and talk together.
Yes.
And we plan to do it, or my wish was to do it live, and now we were like, let's do it spontaneous and jump right in. So I wrote down a few questions to have like a little guideline.
Cool.
And if you want to follow that along. So you already said, what's your mission? How would you describe your why? Like, why do you feel like that's the thing you want to do with your time?
The reason why I feel so called to do this is because I really believe we have to stay true to ourselves if we really want to be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And in my personal journey, staying true to myself has been challenged through society, school, environments. And even though it's because I chose to stay true to myself and have chosen paths that are very different from the people that I grew up with, it's like looking back, it's the fact that I stayed true to myself has probably caused the biggest challenges, but also at the same time, it's because I continued to stay true to myself that I was able to build a life that I now look at and feel really proud of and fulfilled by, and feel the need to just go out there and encourage, inspire, and support people and being more of who they are.
Mm-hmm.
Because at the end of the day, I think it's, for me personally, it's when you know who you are, what matters, what your values are, what your vision is, it's always going to be the most effective compass to make the most out of life.
Yeah. Do you want to share your five values that come up into your mind right now?
Curiosity.
To you?
Curiosity. It's always about curiosity. Integrity, courage, exploration, which is very related with, or like close to curiosity, and just challenging the status quo. Don't believe what everyone is saying.
Yeah, that I find crazy, especially at the moment that with the online world.
Yes.
It's so like, it's almost impossible not to be confused because everyone is telling you like the opposite of what someone else is telling you.
Yeah.
And no matter at what topic you look like, especially when you look at like how to live life and all the coaching that's happening now, where I'm like a big fan of help people to help themselves and not teach them how to live their life.
I couldn't agree more. And I think that's why, for me, integrity is such an important value.
Yeah.
Because integrity is going to look different to everyone. But I think if you know what it looks like to you or what it means for you, and you use it as a compass, and you add a layer of critical thinking, so that everything you say, everything you hear, you use it as a source of information, but you always double check, is this based on fact, or is this an assumption? Is this just noise, or is this actually rooted in something that I really identify with, or I can really support? I think it's these kind of tools that, even though they are going to look very different for everyone, they're a pretty simple way of making sure that you stay aligned.
Yeah. How do you get certainty about the things you believe in? Like how do you stay on track?
Big question. For me, it's always been about feeling about a body response, because
Yeah.
I think beliefs can change over time. Your experiences, your environments will influence your beliefs. And I mean, think of a child, right? When you're a child, and I don't want to ruin anyone's dreams, so if you have a child that still believes in like certain things, and don't listen to it. But let's say you're a child and you believe in Santa Claus. And he's real, but depending on where you're at in your life, this is such a beautiful belief, right? Because it like sparks your imagination, it creates excitement. It really, depending on what you're going to believe, you're going to have a very different body response. But then there comes a time where maybe you want to question whether certain things are still true, or maybe you've outgrown them, or you add a new layer to your life. And I think it's just good to check in with your beliefs on a regular basis, and make sure whether they're still helping you become the person you want to become, or whether they're limiting you in certain things, or whether they're just keeping you stuck in certain things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're fluid. They evolve just as much as we evolve as humans.
Mhm.
And that's a beautiful thing. That's
Yeah,
good.
I agree. I saw it's like in neurobiology, they talk about, or neuroscience, they talk about it's hard to make a change because the way our system works is like we try to stick to the familiar, and even if that's hurtful, it's better for us than the unknown change, that comes with change.
Yeah.
So what would you say helped you to make a shift in your life and like go after what you wanted?
Sorry. I think
Please.
because it's like we crave, as like just like human species craves belonging. We want to belong. We want to make sure that we are part of a community, that if some kind of threat from the outside will come, they always use the example of like the tiger. We want to know that we have a community that's going to protect us and save us. And therefore, to make sure that we belong, we will do, or oftentimes default to like do and act and behave in whatever way is considered acceptable by our environment, because subconsciously this is just how we've been wired, this is how we've been programmed, because by making sure that we belong, we survive.
Yeah.
In today, it's kind of like time where we usually do not have to fear the attack of a tiger. And if you are in a situation where you have the privilege to make certain choices, I think the most effective way to check in with your beliefs and make sure that whatever it is you're building or creating is actually in an alignment with who you are is sometimes to just completely disconnect from everything that's familiar. And that doesn't mean that you have to like cancel anyone, or like just please do not just disappear and no one knows where you're going. But I think let's say you leave for like 3 months or 6 months if you can, or longer, and you just put yourself in a new environment with like a beginner's mind, and you just start to observe what's actually happening, and you just like a tea bag, put your tea bag into different waters and kind of see what flavors come out. It's really interesting to see how suddenly you will notice that there's certain things that you used to tell about yourself, or like a certain story. We spoke about the story, right? That suddenly there's like a story you've been telling yourself about yourself that maybe is no longer up to date,
Mhm.
because you will have responses from people that don't know anything about your history. They don't know who you are. They don't know who, like, how you tend to do things. And then it's this like beautiful opportunity to pretty much reinvent yourself, you know? And you can just decide as you're like fly out of your country, like, okay, I used to believe that I'm really shy, but actually I'm just going to pretend that that's a lie. And therefore, every time I meet someone, I'm going to act brave, you know, or I'm going
Mhm.
to be proactive in the way I interact with people. And I think what's so magical about leaving the environment is that no one's going to be there to tell you, oh, you have changed. Or, you know, like no one's going to be there to like challenge this like experiment where you try to figure out what it is that makes you really fulfilled.
Mhm.
And so I would just encourage people to either go and travel if they can, and if that's too big because they have commitments, then just go on a day trip, spend solo time, and start journaling and start checking in on these like stories you tell yourself about yourself.
Yeah, very well said.
What
I
do you
think
think?
it's
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. And for me, I did it like very, I don't know why, but I left Germany with when I was 23 with a one-way ticket. And when I think about it now, it really helped me to get to know my own feelings: sadness, loneliness, anger, happy, joy, whatever there is, without the normal people around me putting a label on it, without being like, oh, that's good, that's bad, whatever. It's like, no, it's a feeling and it can be there, and then you can deal with it. So, like, I think 4 weeks into my solo trip, I called my best friend, laying in a hostel bed crying, and because I was overwhelmed, I was like,
Yeah.
what the fuck am I doing? At the end of the day, I always like, now it's 12 years later, and I'm still telling myself or I'm convinced that it was the best decision of my life to get out. Can you share a story of your life where you were like, okay, that was something that really showed me maybe there's a different reality to what I grew up with?
I think growing up in Switzerland, I always liked to dream big. And I mean, I used to be a dancer. So when I was 17, I would go to New York, to LA. I wanted to learn from the best. And for me, there's just like till today, I really believe in like infinite possibilities, right? For me, it's just like if you can think it, you can create it. And if you're willing to take action, you just eventually you'll get there. Um, but when I grew up, I didn't really have a lot of people in my environment that shared that mindset. And so oftentimes I really struggled to find a group of friends, because I always had like my like different people from different groups that I really connected with, but like a proper crew, like a community of like
Yeah.
like-minded people, I didn't have that. Um, and it's when I started to when I basically left the dance world and decided that I wanted to just travel and surf and explore and pretty much forget everything about myself and start fresh. I started to meet a lot of travelers and surfers and adventurers and high performers and probably a lot of adrenaline junkies as well. And suddenly you're like, oh, they like this the kind of things I like,
Yeah,
and
they're
we
my
can
kind of people.
right, like we can have the same crazy conversations, and it's no dream is too big, and you can have bold goals, and they're going to encourage you and believe in you and like help
Hmm.
you achieve them. And so that was really cool and very encouraging and added a completely different reality to my life and to the perception of what I think is possible.
Hmm. So after that experience, what would you tell your, let's say, 15-year-old teenager or 18, like whenever you felt like something is missing, what would you tell that little kiddo?
So I was 18 when I left, and looking back, I would just tell her that even though it feels scary and exciting at the same time, it's the best decision you'll have ever made to just
Hmm.
follow your path and listen to what feels right to you and trust that everything will work out.
Yeah, trust and patience,
Yeah.
what I would tell myself. Because I was the same. Like I had no troubles in school or where I grew up in the town. Um, but I never felt like 100% these are my people. And yeah, I think there's people who like it there and they just live there and they feel okay with themselves. Um, but I also, it's my way that I want to encourage young people. And I wish someone told me this 15, 20 years ago. It's like, you're okay the way you are and you can find your tribe, you know?
That, and I think um, just that there's multiple ways of doing life.
Yeah.
And it's going to look so different for everyone. And just like with relationships, right? There's often a concept that people refer to when they think of a relationship or think of life or think of success or think of whatever. It's just concepts. We
Mhm.
construct these concepts, and we can as like we can influence the way we want to build them. And it's just like a Lego box, right? You have like different pieces, and if at some point you're tired of having this like form, you just build something new, and they can look whatever you want it to look like.
Yeah. Do you think there's certain, what I like, I 100% agree that there's like, I think our brain likes to think in categories and boxes, and we can reform them however we want. But I think there's certain things like we need a heart to live, and we need some sort of nutrition to survive. I think there's like natural instincts when it comes to partners, not having like a relationship the way we live it now. But I think the origin of every species is survival, and so are humans. And I think
Mhm.
that's why we have this like drawn to have relationships now.
Yeah, and I mean, I think there's nothing more beautiful than connecting with people,
Yeah.
or building a relationship. I mean, what is more powerful than finding a human, and that can be a partner or a friend, that makes you feel truly seen.
Hmm. And
It's,
also challenge us sometimes.
of course, calls you out
I
on the
like my
bullshit,
friends. I
right?
like my friends who are like honest with me and kick my ass sometimes, and not always have
Yeah,
pity or be like, yeah. I like them like, get over yourself, you know. I
yeah,
wrote down this morning that life is so simple and don't make it complicated.
yeah.
It's like we need sleep. We need to sleep. It's like, I think, one of the most important things. Otherwise, you can't work.
Oh
And
yeah,
you need your
right.
health. eat, work, move, and socialize.
Yep.
Do you have a belief that you admit to, that you do you have a belief that you admit to that you don't longer believe in? Like something that you told yourself, like that's my true, and then now you're like, oh, maybe that's not true.
Oh, I used to believe that I would have to choose between a adventurous life and stability. And that's probably the reason why I was single for so long.
That's the reason why?
That's probably the reason why I was single for so many years.
Uh-huh.
But I know now that they coexist, and I would even say it's for me, there's no more powerful combination than feeling safe and free at the same time. It requires planning. It requires setting priorities. Maybe to give an example, it's if you travel and you're young, I think we tend to think short term rather than long term.
Yep.
And being Swiss, I had a third pillar, which is like part of our retirement system ever since I was 17, because I was like, I want to invest and have compound interest,
Yeah.
And I'm actually really happy that I had this mindset from like a young age, because I do want to continue to have that freedom to travel and to go wherever I want, whenever I want. I do want to work part-time for as long as I can. But I also want to make sure that I will have a certain comfort when I'm old. And I want to make sure I can, afford life as it evolves. And I think it's good to think about these things and like find the right middle between making the most out of life now, but also start planting the seeds so that you have comfort and stability and safety in the future, whether that means investing in things or making sure you have the right insurances or building relationships that you want to maintain and like nurturing your relationships, because it's good to live today, be present, make the most out of today. But ideally, you want to get old and have a happy and healthy life. I mean, at least that's what's true for me. So think about what the old version will need as well.
Yeah.
So that you can.
My mom's best friend told me 10 years ago, the beach bum life is super nice, but you always also want to think about financial stability for your future, because she has to support her dad, who lives in Thailand and can't afford shelter and food, which I think is, we're not talking about like luxury or whatever, but like make sure that you have enough money. And like here in Mexico, and I can see it, that people don't have that thinking because it's more about survival in a lot of parts.
Yeah.
And they have to collect donations if they have a motorbike accident.
Yeah.
Because they don't have the education and the systems to take care of that. So would you say in Switzerland it comes from the school education, or it comes from society, or where does the education about wealth and finance come from?
For me, or maybe it's because I didn't I didn't listen a lot when I was in school. It didn't come from school. It came from having a random interaction with an older man when I was in Copenhagen having brunch, and he planted that seed of like, you're young, time is your most valuable asset, make it work for you. And then with this information, I came home and I went to the bank and I was like, I want time to make money for me kind of thing. You know? And they're like, what are you talking about? I'm not sure, but you tell me, how can I make money?
Yeah.
So I think I was lucky to have this random encounter that planted that seed of like, oh, cool. And then also, I'm lucky to have a dad who always emphasized the importance of making sure
Mhm.
you invest on a regular base so that you don't have any slots that are missing, which in Switzerland can be really complicated.
Mhm.
But I think we lack financial literacy. It's not something you're really taught about. And again, I can only speak for Switzerland, and I guess Switzerland is in a very good position in general. But yeah, I would really encourage people to find ways to educate themselves and not wait for the system to tell you what to do, because there's some good things that are worth looking into. How about
Yeah.
you? How do you know? What's your approach?
Um, I think for me, I never liked money, which has to do with my upbringing, I guess. And but the pain of like wanting the freedom, but having to work jobs that I didn't want to work to sustain this freedom, it got too big. So I was like, okay, I need to do something about my financial situation. So I started reading books, listening to podcasts. That's why I started this as well, because I learned a lot in my life from YouTube videos and podcasts. Like I learned the most from conversation with people, and I traveled a lot and I spoke to thousands of people. But I like the idea, if I want to be financially free, listen to people who are financially free and not to a banker who works for a wage.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think there's a few things like that you can learn about in life. And again, it's so confusing nowadays because of the overload on information, how to eat healthy, how to move healthy, and how to get your finances in order.
Yeah.
But I think financial stress is really bad for us. It's worse than average nutrition or
Yeah.
bad nutrition. I think if you're worried all the time about how you can afford water the next day,
Yeah.
it puts you in a very shitty place. And I can
Yeah.
see it here. It's like people live from week to week, not even from
Yeah.
month to month,
Yeah.
They're like, some of my friends here, they're like, Sebas, I don't have any money, And it's one thing I see in Germany, like everyone is complaining, and I was like, you have no idea how good you have it. Like what we are talking about now, like leaving for 3 months and go somewhere and find yourself. It's such a privilege to have that,
Yeah. Absolutely.
because reality here is like people don't. I talked with a woman the other day. She's like, it's been 20 years since she was in the next city, which is 20 minutes away.
Wow.
That's one thing I like about traveling. Like it opens your
Perspective.
mind a lot. Yeah, and
Yeah.
it makes you appreciate life a whole lot more.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to ask you earlier is, you said when you look back on your life, it fills you with pride. It makes you proud. How do you conceive pride? Like what makes you proud about it?
I think for me, pride comes from seeing that I've had the courage to change, to evolve, to step into the unknown over and over again. And even though I didn't know the answers to my questions, or I didn't know whether something was going to work out or not, or what the outcome was going to be,
Mhm.
I just had the courage to follow what feels right. And for me, I always said I'd rather be alone and happy than surrounded by a bunch of people I do not relate to or do not feel connected with, or that share completely different beliefs and values. And I think having had this integrity as like a compass and courage to just continue, even though sometimes it was really fucking scary, has brought me to some beautiful places and has allowed me to live what feels like multiple lives in one life, because I've had so many personalities, and I'm not saying in terms of um appearing like a schizophrenic person, but more like if I see how, for example, self-esteem has gone from being healthy to very low to back to healthy to these kind of transformations that really have a big influence on whether you're going to be the driver or just a passive passenger or like
Mhm.
co-pilot of your life. And I think
Which
for
is
me,
reality for most of the people now.
exactly, because they feel like there's no other way. And
Mhm.
I didn't have answers, but I just believe that there has to be a way that works for me. And that's something I'm proud of.
Mhm. Yeah, sometimes when I talk to people, I think I don't know where it came from, if it's like genetics or the safety of having shelter and not a lack of the basic needs growing up, but I always had the outlook on life like it's gonna be okay.
And I think that's an important point. I think it's not to like we shouldn't underestimate the power of having a safety net, because
Yeah.
it's like I think both you and I, at any point, we can go home. There's probably going to be some bed we can sleep in, and there's going to be some kind of job we can do just to get by.
Mhm.
And I think once and that's, by the way, that's like a strategy I apply whenever I dare to do another big move. I always go through my different phases and like, okay, this is how long I can try this. Then I have to consider this option, and then this is like, if shit hits the fan, I always have this option. And usually I get back to the realization that at any time I can just go back and do whatever kind of job I can find, and I'll always be fine, even if that's maybe not the ideal job long term. It's always going to give me enough money to keep working on the projects I'm working on, or keep realizing the dreams I want to realize.
Mhm.
And I think this is huge, because yeah, you have to of course be willing to simplify your life. And I guess that's also where the power lies, when you realize that you don't actually need a lot to be happy. Your costs will sink dramatically, because
Yeah.
you're not going to have to pay for a mortgage, you're not going to have to pay for an expensive car, for like some kind of lifestyle that forces you to be in a hamster wheel and therefore depend on factors that you cannot control. So yeah, I think realizing what your safety net looks like and how you can simplify your life so that you have as many factors as possible that only depend on you. I think that's a powerful move.
Yeah. Do you have any like you told me on the last call that one of your ideas is to go to schools and talk to students about life and being true to yourself, if I remember right. Um, do you have I looked into
Simon Sinek.
Simon Sinek. Do you have any tools or any advice that you can give like younger people around their 20s, when there's like I think a big change in life happening to most of us, how they can make this live a purposeful life possible.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not some kind of guru, so I can only speak from my personal experience, right? Right.
I don't like gurus too much.
We don't like gurus. What has always helped me is to befriend death. It's to just be real about the fact that we're all gonna die.
Mhm.
And to ask yourself, if I died tomorrow, what would I do today? What would I regret not having done, lived, said, experienced, tried?
Yeah.
What would I do? And if I had 3 months to live, how would I spend them? If I had 1 year to live, what would I like prioritize?
Mhm.
Because the truth is, we always act, or like most of us act, as if we're here forever, and it's just not true. It can happen anytime,
Yeah.
and it will. And so I think befriend death is like a big one, and another one that's been big for myself is that no one's gonna come and give you permission to be your best self. You have to give yourself permission to go for everything you want to go in this life, and
Yeah.
do not wait for someone to validate your dream, or like to tell you whether you have what it takes to do whatever it is, because sometimes a dream is just a dream, but it like having a dream, having a vision, like having an idea of what your ideal life or like outcome, or if we go back to death, if like at the end of your life you look back and you've written this book, if you have an idea of what chapters you want to have written, this is going to be your compass. It's going to be like, this is something I want to live. And so you're going to start screening life and reality for ways to make this happen. But if you don't use imagination as this superpower to like activate your senses, you're just going to look around and take the life of others as a reference point. And again, if there's some kind of idol you look up to and that can serve as a point of reference, then study them, look at ways of like how they behave, how they train, how like they do life.
Mhm.
But always remember that you have the power to create your future by using imagination as a source of like creation.
Yeah. Great.
Create, just create.
Great. Yeah.
Create and like
Yeah. Great. Yeah. I love this. I love the idea of the opposite of anxiety is not calmness, but creativity.
yeah,
It's not about like, um, I think meditation can help to find a bit of inner peace and calmness in your mind. And there's a lot of different working brains, I think. But everyone gets born with creativity, and it's good to apply that in whatever way you want to do it. I
yeah,
think it's really helpful, and I can see it in my life when I what you said, you don't like gurus, and um, I think it's so much more helpful that you take people and you're like, okay, let's go and do this, let's go and do this, so they can experience it in their own hands, how it feels like to create something, And if it's
yeah,
learning to ride learning how to ride a motorbike, or let your anger out on by chopping wood or painting, or there's so many different options, or
yeah,
programming a website, you know.
yeah,
There's different kinds of creativity, I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
What would you? Yeah. Sorry.
maybe if I can add something, I think I mean creativity at the end is self-expression, right? And I think what can be really powerful as well is just to use joy as a compass. Just like
Yeah.
do whatever lights you up and just
Yeah.
explore that.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to make sense to anyone as long as you're, respecting people around you and not harming
Yeah.
anyone. Like just do whatever feels joyful, and
Yeah.
that will tell you a lot about who you are.
Yeah. I would talk to a surfboard shaper in New Zealand, and he said everyone wants to go to heaven, but no one wants to die. And it's a
Yeah,
lot of times we see like the result of someone doing it, but we don't want to go down the path and like fail and fall down and stand up again and feel like an idiot and still do
yeah,
it, And we all want to feel okay inside. I think that's the end goal of living a purposeful life, to wake up and feel like, oh, I'm okay the way I am. But I
yeah,
think the way we get programmed by society growing up in Europe, at least, it's like you constantly get told you're not okay by the school system, by maybe the parents or whoever helps you uh, growing up. And I think we do have the tools to prove ourselves we're okay. And sometimes that means to do like uncomfortable things and do the hard shit
yeah.
sometimes,
That's
And and what you said, like feel joy about it, like sometimes I don't want to go and do whatever it is, like go to the gym or go do the garden or go to work, whatever it is at the moment. But you can, like, I learned there's certain things that always make me feel better after I've done them. And just
yeah,
like do more of this, and then eventually you're gonna feel more joy about it, because the more often you do it, eventually the response is gonna get you're gonna find people who like it, and then that's how you
yeah.
create a nice community, I guess.
And I think there's something really cool about, let's say you have a goal and you don't initially enjoy doing what you're doing, but you enjoy the idea of achieving that goal. And then I
Hmm.
think every day, you mentioned the gym, every day you like show up in the gym, even though you don't feel like it, you're gonna add some like credit to your self-respect account, you know,
Yeah,
or like
yeah,
self-esteem account.
yeah,
And I think it's really cool when um there's something you just really suck at in the beginning, and that's part of every journey, right? Like you're gonna suck at something that if you've never done
hmm,
before. That's fine. Embrace it. It means you're growing. But then as you like continue to do it and you have like grit as like a value to just go and go and go, even though it's hard and it's not comfortable and all of that, you suddenly start to look at yourself through like different eyes because you have respect for yourself because you show
yeah,
up and you like killed the ego basically, and you're like, okay, I have this goal, I'm gonna go there no matter what.
yeah.
And yeah,
I think that's how we get like asked a successful friend the other day, what's the difference between normal people and extraordinary people, or whatever, how you want to see them and how you want to define your success. But she was like, first of all, most of them were just lucky. And second, they are confident.
yeah,
They believe in what they are doing.
yeah,
And I think that's very good. I find it funny in surfing that there's some people who, like, it's good to get better because you're going to get nice feelings when you ride critical sections, whatever. But I also find like there's people doing like 3 air reverse on one wave, and they're still frustrated because they didn't land the last one. And I think that's, for me, it was very important to change my mindset to enjoy the ride more than being focused on the outcome, because for me the outcome became better once I started focusing on the ride. So on my movement and everything, rather than how other people perceive me, how I look.
yeah,
That really helped me to make the journey more enjoyable than
yeah,
the failing. Like, you can, if I make a furniture and it doesn't, like, I build a table and it falls down after I build it, I can laugh about it. It's like, oh, okay, didn't work. I tried it and now I can do it differently the next time. It's and not being like, oh, you stupid idiot. I
but I
like
think
the theory about when kids stump their toe somewhere, they like fucking chair. And adults are like, oh, I'm so stupid. And that's the
Very
difference. I think
interesting.
we can apply more to be like, it's not my fault. We all fail if we try something new. Just stand up and try it again.
Well,
Like kids trying to learn to walk. They don't fall down and like, oh, I'm so stupid, I can't walk. They just get up again and keep trying to walk.
I think that's the difference between a fixed and a growth mindset, or between a finite and an infinite, right? It's like one mindset is gonna look at it as proof of them not being good enough, and the other one is gonna look at it as a piece of information that's gonna help them become better.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like to think of it as we're just collecting data. We're just trying little things, and we're doing our experiments, and then collect the data, and then analyze the data, and then we either see a pattern or not, and then we continue. And we can always evolve and become better at whatever it is we want.
Be curious,
yeah.
One of my friends, when people say me like, no, you don't have to grow, and I like my friend, he's a therapist, and he's like, personal growth goes like this, right? It's not like this.
Yeah.
And he's like, but the other thing is flatlining, and flatlining means you're dead. So I think it's a nice way to look at being curious and learning new things and be the idiot in the end, Like,
embrace the stuff.
Don't be ashamed of being dumb. Like, if you don't know something, don't talk and pretend you know it. There's nothing wrong about saying, oh, I don't know it. Can you please help me? Can you let me know what's your opinion about it?
Yeah.
If you had to put a name on the chapter of let's say it's a 5-year chapter that you're in right now, what would be the name for the chapter?
I like that question. 5-year chapter, self-realization.
Self-realization?
Yes.
In like
a professional way.
You're getting to know yourself and learning your strength, or
no?
What do you mean by
self-realization is more about applying everything I've learned, everything I know, everything I've become. And basically, if you've got ingredients of like, I invested that amount of time into becoming the professional that I am, and then I've invested that amount of time to overcome fears, I've invested that amount of time to heal certain patterns that no longer serve me, and now I've got this nice kind of mixture. And rather than just having the ingredients stored in my fridge, I'm entering baking phase now. So I'm gonna make different cakes with all the good stuff I've created, I've experienced, I've learned, I've become, and I'm just giving myself full permission to become the biggest fucking bakery.
The most yummy cake ever.
I'm not talking babies, okay?
Making nice carrot cakes.
Yeah, I love carrot cakes.
That's what I said earlier. Like, what you just described now, I think from psychology, the theory is that we go through changes every 7 years, every 7th year. And that's why I would tell my younger self, be patient. You don't have to figure it all out. It's like the teenagers are the way teenagers are for a reason. And then you go into your 20s and you're like, yeah, fuck everything. I want to have my freedom. And you go out and explore. And what you said earlier, I think it's smart to think a little bit about the future and don't just party all the time and get drunk and do the fun stuff. That's something I changed for myself, what I asked you earlier, like what belief I admitted to and that I don't longer believe in is that, first of all, I have to be happy all the time. And that life is only about having fun. It's like you can change your mindset to enjoy work and bring joy to the things you do. But if you always, like, I try to focus my life on surfing and the endless summer, and it always has to be, everything has to be perfect, and I have to be happy all the time, and it creates a struggle. So
Yeah, because it's like you're putting yourself into a box again.
yeah, and you like if I wasn't happy, I was like, okay, you're doing something wrong, you're not okay. It's like, no, it's okay. Like everyone feels everything.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you're not your feelings. You know,
Yeah.
you can just observe. You can just observe, like, ooh,
Yeah.
ooh, I'm feeling anxious, or like I'm feeling angry, but not I am.
Yeah.
No, it's just I feel. I observe. This is
Yeah.
happening. Sometimes it's more pleasant. Sometimes it's not that pleasant. And just be like, okay. And I think that's the cool thing about meditation. It's you just learn to observe and just sit with it.
Do you want to share how you meditate, or like what helps you in meditation to deal with these encounters with your feelings?
So I've been meditating a lot since, or like on a regular basis, probably since 2016. And for me now, I have like a mixture of like guided meditation, and I do a lot of journaling. The first thing in the morning, I just write down 3 pages, and it's like stream of consciousness writing. So it's like taking a morning dump. Basically, you just empty it all. You just puke on your pages and you just let it all out. So it's like you're cleansed. You start the day. Was your question about how I deal with like strong feelings? Whether like meditation can help me navigate through strong or difficult feelings?
Yeah.
So I think what's been most helpful, if I do have moments of anxiety, which can happen, it's breath work. And if breath work doesn't work, I need to jump into cold water, because it's like usually when I feel anxious, it's because I'm stuck in my mind. I'm like overthinking, and I'm not in the present, right? I'm like thinking about what could go wrong.
Yeah.
And for me, the most effective way to kick out of that and get back to the now and just remember that I'm safe is cold.
Globe still spinning.
Yeah, just cold water. Just right
Yeah.
back into the body kind of thing.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of talk about meditation, and I think it's a very nice tool. It also probably is not always the best thing, you know. What you said, like if you're overthinking, you sit down in stillness for 30 minutes, you're already like connected to your feelings, and you're always in this world. I think meditation, what I do a lot is breath work. What helps me a shit ton when I get frustrated or
Yeah.
angry or whatever, it's like I breathe 3 times. I'm sitting in the car and someone is talking something that irritates me, and I just breathe 3 times, and it's like all these like feelings coming up dissolve.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works.
And
And
sometimes,
then
sorry.
I love, oh God, I love, I call it mind journaling now. It's
Nice.
to sit in the energy what you just created. So, for example, I go surf, and I had a fun session, and I met some friends, and there was like some eagle rays passing by and some dolphins, or what, like just a cool experience in nature. And I come back to my place, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna sit down and write this article now. I'm gonna do the garden, or it's like I'm like, no, slow down, sit for 5 minutes, and just enjoy what you experienced, you know. And I call it mind journaling rather than the chore of you have to sit down 10 minutes and write a journal every day, which is super helpful. And I think if you have like spiciness in your brain, it's journaling. It's probably going to be better for you than meditation, but that's just from my personal experience. But I love to have these tools, you know. And like a lot of people are like, "Oh, meditation is only for hippies," and like, yeah, maybe. I don't know, but it helps me a lot.
I like the mind journaling thing. It's a bit like acknowledging what's just happened, right? It's like
Yeah,
being
like
grateful
it helps you
for,
to be being present, be in the
yeah,
present moment, and inhale that good energy you just created.
yeah. It's
It's
very
like
cool.
uh, I realized starting like with the first recording of the podcast that as soon as the camera turns on, I'm like I change, like something inside of me changes.
Yeah.
It's because I know I expose myself to the judgment of other people.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something deep inside of me where that still feels like, if someone's going to say something bad, you're going to feel bad, and we don't want that.
Yeah.
And now I realize if I just do it more and more and more, I'm going to prove myself that nothing's going to happen.
Yeah. And
Which
you're, first of all, you understand that you're safe, and that actually the benefit of doing it is way bigger than the potential risk you're
Mhm.
taking. And I think in our case, because we're having conversation about life, it's like anyone who doesn't like what we talk about can just turn it off,
Yeah.
and it's not going to hurt us, It's not-
Yeah. No, even if there's bad comments, I think it's like, yeah, it's okay. It's I feel a lot of times people who make bad comments to other people, they do it because they don't feel good with themselves. Like if someone tells me like, oh, you're so skinny, or you're this and this, and you're this and this, it's like, okay, thank you, bro. I have friends, or I had friends in my life. They told me like, cut your hair. Why are you wearing this shirt with holes in it? Why are you walking barefoot? Like all things like this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, thank you, bro. I like it and I do it. And if you don't like it, it's not really my problem.
Yeah.
Okay. If we meet in 1 year again, what will we celebrate?
Ooh, I like that question. Um, we will celebrate the fact that we both have started our podcast, and we are like posting regular content that we feel proud of, that is meaningful. And I will have launched my new workshop,
Do you
which
want to talk about your workshop?
not yet.
Okay. Nice.
But I will let you know when we can talk about it.
In a year. No, I hope sooner. Yeah. Cool. Do you want to say anything? Do you have anything you want to
There. Well, I'm
add
super
to the
happy
conversation?
that we're having this conversation. I think it's so cool to see how, just because I got invited to talk about life and work, you picked up on it, and now suddenly we have this conversation. And I think if anyone resonates with what we're talking about, I can only encourage them to have these conversations, and that way we can start creating positive ripple effects.
Mhm.
And yeah, just be creative, be curious and courageous, and focus on joy.
Thank you. And I can tell from my own experience that I'm going through now, it's you don't have to be scared to show yourself, because the fear and the anxiety that you're telling yourself is probably not going to happen if you don't do anything really bad. And the if you show your true self, you're going to attract the right people. Just because I'm posting my work more on Instagram, like my carpentry side of work, my creative woodworking side, a lot of people got in contact with me, like, hey, dude, I want to have furniture. Hey, I want to have this, And just like showing up for yourself, showing yourself,
That's it.
shine, like
Yes.
show your talent, show what you have.
Yeah. And I think by doing that, we're giving people the possibility to find us, and
Yeah.
we can be of service. We can
Uh-huh.
co-create. We can help them with whatever it is we have to offer, or we can co-create. And I think it's a gift to be seen.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's how I can prove myself that I'm okay. Because I was always scared to show like a side of me thinking about all these things we just talked about.
Yeah.
I always had to be like the happy sap and like the adventures and the freedom and the creative woodworker. And it's like there's a part of me that wants to talk about these things because I wished someone was open enough to share these things and talk to me in this way when I was younger. And that's like my message to like the younger people is like, go fucking like go do it.
I love that. Just take the lead.
Yeah.
Be the person you wish you would have had.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's very cool.
Cool. Thank you for your time. Oh, it's always exciting for me, and I love it.
Super cool. Thank you.